Order of business is we need a motion to approve the minutes of March 8th, 2022.
Moved.
Second.
Meeting is being recorded.
Wayne moved, Mark Page seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Awesome. Great, so I'll turn it over to you, George. Other people might want to mute while we're not speaking.
Yeah.
George, it's all yours.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I guess maybe we should start out with the introductions. And we could start with our newest member. Bob Megna is joining us as the in the position of current or former budget director of the state of New York. So welcome, Bob. Is everyone else, why don't we just go around and introduce ourselves. I'm George Sweeting. I'm currently the acting director at IBO.
Lisa Neary, the chief of staff at IBO.
Beth, you want to go?
Jackie Sherman.
Elizabeth Brown, Communications Director at IBO.
Jackie, we missed half of your, so you want to?
Sure, I'm Jackie Sherman. I'm the general counsel at IBO.
And Tara?
Tara Swanson, I'm the production coordinator for digital and print here at IBO.
And I believe Monserrati is still on here.
I am, yes. Monserrati Fernandez, IT Director at IBO.
And board members?
Karim Hudson, affordable housing developer. Morning, Wayne Ho. Wayne Ho, I run Chinese American Planning Council, board member.
Jennifer March, ED, CCC.
I'm Fenwick Haas, Dean of Zicklin.
I'm Tony Shoris, a recovering government worker.
Mark Canizaro, Counselor, School Supervisors and Administrators.
Jeremy John, New York City Council Speaker's Office.
Mark Page, did you introduce yourself? Or
Yeah, board member, former director of budget for New York City.
And in addition to Jeremy John, are there any other elected official representatives here?
Hi, this is Krista Olson, Deputy Controller for Budget at the Controller's Office.
I guess I'm the only one left here. I'm Mary Octum, Mary Octum, the Interim Associate Dean in Business School in Brooklyn College.
Okay, well, welcome all. I'm just going to give a very brief director's report, and then I guess the plan is for you all to adjourn into an executive session. At our last meeting, we had just published our overview of the preliminary budget and a handful of budget briefs, which are short reports we do tied to specific issues that emerge in the budget. Since then, we've published 11 more budget briefs targeted at the preliminary. Just a few of the ones that I think are most interesting. One was an analysis of the large swings in property tax valuations between the 22 and the 23 fiscal year. There was also one on school enrollments and how that's played out for Department of Education budget savings. There was one on staffing at the CCRB, the Civilian Complaint Review Board, overseeing police issues, and a number of other briefs were also published. We've also published an update to our budget options. We had 10 new ones and also updated a number of older ones. among the new ones that I think are particularly interesting, one that continues to get a lot of attention, or it's certainly being used, is something suggesting that if the city could improve the participation in the organics program, you actually could begin to not only have it look like an extremely expensive program, but actually potentially saving the city money. Our estimate was if you could get participation up significantly, you could actually save about $33 million after 5 years. You'd have to ramp up to that. But, there was another one for 150 million, looking at the penalties and fines associated with building facade repairs. The fees right now, once you put your scaffolding up and start work but don't complete work, are actually pretty gentle. And so the idea was if you raised the fee there, you would both create, you generate some revenue and also create an incentive to get the repairs completed. So that would save about $150 million. And then, lest you think we only look at the really big savings, we found one that would generate, we estimate, $1 million in savings. And this comes from, I had no idea that this was still going on, but about 30,000 city retirees currently get paper checks. In some cases, they're actually held at an agency office for the people to come in and pick them up monthly. So our proposal was to require direct deposit for your pension check, and that would, our estimate, it's not a lot of savings because there are, all you're doing is cutting down on printing at the city. The city has a large printing establishment already, and a little bit of staffing, but it's about $1 million. So those were some of the highlights of the budget options that we added. We also did a number of other updates to our website. We updated the fiscal history, which takes spending at the agency level and the unit of appropriation level back to 1980. That's there as a reference for people. We did an update on that. We did an update on our education fiscal history, which is similar to the overall citywide fiscal history, but it adds in some additional detail relevant to the Department of Ed. And then we also updated a set of our education indicators. These are particularly focused on attendance and achievement at schools. And we also used a webinar to sort of reintroduce people to what these indicators look like and demonstrate what you can do with them. I think that was quite successful. We had, I think, about 90 registrants for that webinar. So this is our second foray into the webinar realm. I expect we will try to do more of those. Upcoming publications, obviously with the exec budget coming out yesterday, that's going to dominate our work for the next 3 weeks or so. There'll be an overview report, and then a number of these budget briefs as we did with the preliminary. The other big publication that we expect within the next few days is an evaluation of the proposal to finance the Penn Station rehabilitation using value capture off of 10, or I guess it's eight development sites that will host 10 buildings is the current plan. So our report there is particularly focused on identifying all the information that's really not known, or at least has not been released yet, about how the financing would actually work. There's an awful lot of detail missing. There's much less detail provided on this plan than there was, say, for the Hudson Yards development that the city started about 10 years ago. In terms of office issues, hiring continues. We have one accepted offer for an education analyst who's going to start once she finishes up her grad school. in a month or so. We have interviews underway for an economist position and also an environmental analyst position. If people have suggestions on useful or interesting candidates, we definitely would like to hear from you. We'll be starting searches soon for an economic development analyst. We're also probably going to add a position in our IT group for a systems administrator. And we had one unexpected opening in our budget reviews section. Jonathan Rosenberg, who had been one of our assistant directors, has moved to the city council, where he is effectively the head of the council finance division. It's understandable why Jonathan would leave IBO, and it was definitely on good terms that when he left, but it is a blow to us, and it creates a big hole in our ability to do our work. So we're going to be moving as quickly as possible to fill that position. Again, if people have suggestions or ideas, we'd be very interested in hearing about them. And then finally, there's been a lot of work that's consumed an awful lot of time of senior management at IBO on our IT infrastructure. And this was prompted by a security breach in our email system last fall that generated a fair amount of spoofed emails, and hopefully no one's computer systems got damaged, but we learned a lot about some of the vulnerabilities in our system and are working to really rethink the entire setup. So we think we will wind up in a place that we have a much more secure system, plus also a system that's actually easier for people to use. I know those two ideas are sort of in tension, but the expectation is we're going to come out of this with a much better and more robust system. But it is certainly taking a lot of time of senior staff. So I'll leave it there. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Hey, George, I'm really hoping the spoofed email did not result in an IBO report written by me, because that would be a disastrous day. Indeed. But
I don't think that happened, but you never know.
But I do appreciate your comments, and I did similar here at my company. We did similar IT overhaul, and I don't know how able you guys are to be part of the kind of cloud, but that obviously is right. In a remote environment the best way to go. Yeah. And get a lot of, so I mean, I just don't know what the restrictions are, but you certainly look into it. My question was, obviously there's been a lot of tension among people who live in the city about garbage. And my understanding is that the mayor cut that budget. And when I listened to Brian Lear, who I'm not promoting on the recording, but almost all of the city council people were talking about garbage issues in their districts. So have y'all looked at that and done any analysis as to what's happening there and what the effects are and what we're seeing? I don't know how you measure the amount of garbage on my city street, but by my eye, it certainly has increased, and so have the rats.
We've certainly done a fair amount of work looking at the budget and the staffing and use of overtime in the Department of Sanitation. We've also done, this budget option that I referred to earlier on organics. That's basically the issue there is, should the city have mandatory sorting of organic waste, or allow it to continue to go into just the regular refuse containers. If you've got food scraps and other organic material in your regular refuse baskets, that's certainly is tempting for rats. And, there was a cutback on that. The city had been planning to expand. They had a pilot organics collection program. The take-up rate was pretty low, and they had been planning to expand it, but then in the preliminary budget, it was for, I think, well, actually, I guess it started under de Blasio, but the last two financial plans have involved, have cut that back, cut back the plans to expand it. So we've been looking at it through those lenses, but we're not really equipped to go out and survey the cleanliness of the streets. The city does do analysis like that, although people have questioned over time the accuracy of some of that data, but it's part of the MMR process, the Mayor's Management Review process, that the city has sanitation vehicles driving up and down streets and making an assessment as to whether the street, they have a street rating system on the cleanliness.
Hey, George, I'm sorry, can I just follow up really quickly, Mark? I apologize. One of the things that one of the council members that I had spoken to complained about was that I think because of the cuts in the budget, they're now being asked to use discretionary money to move their where their district sanitation budget was, like right to where it was before. And so I just would be interested, and I know you mentioned on the last call that you're interested in doing kind of a DEI section for each of the reports. I mean, I think that would be an interesting investigation to see if there was any DEI impact for sanitation, and maybe not intentional to the cuts, right, in terms of what we're seeing there. And again, you guys are more brilliant than me. I don't know how you do that, but I do think it's something that everyday New Yorkers would care about, and something that obviously is important to the city.
I mean, one of the cuts they made was to reduce the city has a process for extra or additional collections on commercial streets, commercial strips, and there was some cutback there. That certainly would give you you could map out where those collection cutbacks occurred. I assume might be an interesting way of coming at it.
I can speak to the council approach towards sanitation and organics in particular. So two things, particularly around organics. It's one of the things that's within our preliminary budget response that we're going to continue to fight for with the expansion of. Yesterday at the mayor's 100-day budget presentation, he discussed the expansion of the organics program, primarily in response to us. I think he wants to centralize them. He did acknowledge the failure of the previous organics program. He wants to try to attach them to schools, I believe is the intention, as a way to expand upon that program. But overall, we do have, the council in particular, do have the intention, one, of continue to advocate for it in the budget, but also last week we introduced a bill around the expansion of organics throughout the city. So the council does have a comprehensive approach towards it.
From the only other thing I'd add is when it comes to actual garbage on the street, obviously organics is a very important thing for other reasons. It doesn't actually affect garbage on the street much, but what does affect garbage on the street is New York is one of the, not a minority of jurisdictions that asks people to put their garbage in bags and leave it on the street. And that is what's different than we go around other cities, like, where's all the garbage? I don't see garbage everywhere. I don't see bags piled up. It's because they have containers or other physical design elements that allow them not to put the garbage on the street in bags. And it's those bags that not only are pretty unsightly, but they're rat havens because the rats break into them. And there have been various efforts to think about what to do about that problem. But if you really want to think about why New York's so different, that's the main reason, is we have a city built where there's no place to put your garbage except in a bag on the street for a day or two until they pick it up, and begging for all the things that come with that. That's the fundamental challenge, along with all the other things George and Jeremy just mentioned.
But I think as you point out, it's partly the physical design of New York City. I mean, a lot of other cities actually have sort of utility alleys down the back that enable you to have containers for garbage. And New York is not built with that in mind. I think, I mean, just to keep in mind on the composting, it's not a question of just, you pass the law and it's going to happen the following day when it's implemented, I think. I mean, you have a problem that the prior efforts have not been very successful because people don't like doing it. And the bag issue is actually an issue because at least as envisioned up to now, the organics were not supposed to be in a bag, they're supposed to be in a container. Right. But people are very used to this idea that you put your garbage in a bag and you don't have to sort of delve into it quite as personally as you do if you're shoveling it in and out of a plastic container. And one other thing, just no big deal, but your printed check, you need to check as to whether New York City actually has the ability to end printing checks. I have a vague recollection that we came up against that in the past, and you don't. But I maybe that's different, or maybe I'm remembering it wrong.
It may very well be true. I mean, our budget options, don't assume we can do
the things you're suggesting.
Particular suggestion on unilaterally. There's an assumption in many cases that we need to go to Albany or collectively bargain or whatever.
Yeah,
that may very. I'd have to speak with the people who did the work on that. How much they looked at that.
It is a collective bargaining issue, particularly with returns to the retirees. But there's also consideration to be given that there's a reason that folks don't have direct deposit. Because they may not have bank accounts.
Yes, exactly.
And that's something that is top of mind for most retirees. Because if they don't have direct deposit, it's likely because they don't have a bank account. It's an option. The idea is to put flag it as something to take a look at, and it could generate some savings.
Excuse me, George. You may have done this, but have you guys done anything on how the state budget may have affected the city?
We're just starting to. Absolutely. Certainly the childcare expansion, which the mayor, I think, was claiming a lot. He was talking yesterday about how much he was going to expand childcare services. I think most of the resources for that are coming from the state. Although, don't quote me on that. That's based on yesterday's minimal release of information. So certainly that's one area. They actually passed our the city's tax proposals, which doesn't always happen, and they extended the intercept of the sales tax of $150 million of our sales tax to use for distressed hospitals, mostly upstate. Those are a couple, we've already identified, and there are more. That'll be part of our review with the exec. But when we do our exec budget review, we're looking also at what the state did, and then also, to Jeremy's point, we're definitely looking at what the the council's response to the preliminary is, and ideas that are in there. Okay. Any other questions? I know there's a.
I have a question, George, about the open positions. Where is there anywhere we can find the job description?
Beth or Tara, they're on the web, right? They're on the homepage.
Well, I can't find on the web.
We're in the About Us section, I think, right, Tara?
Yes, they're in the About section, and there's a menu that'll take you to a page that says job descriptions. Currently, there are no job descriptions on the web page. There's just
Yeah, that's
Oh, I
what I
guess
mean.
because
Yeah.
that's right. The window for applications, I think, ended last week. I think that may be
Oh,
why.
I see.
Yes.
And Mary, sorry to interrupt. I don't know if you, I actually sent you an email about this. I don't know if you got it. It was a while back. It was right after the last meeting we had. But if you didn't get it, let me know. And
Yeah, because I
Yeah,
was
that's-
traveling at the time and I'm
Okay.
not pro with my, especially for the economist job description. I might have some I don't know if you are still looking for, or did you close the search? The economist position.
I think the search ended last Friday.
Oh, okay. All right.
We could take a look.
I guess that goes to the question of, George, like, are we doing a good enough job? Have we talked to consultant advisors that we're blasting out these job descriptions to a wide enough array of folks, community papers? You know, nobody really looks at the paper anymore, but are we going to the appropriate websites, whatever it is that folks are going to in different communities to make
We
sure
are
this-
trying to, and we've made a very conscious effort of that in the last 6 months or so. And if there are, we would love to get any suggestions for websites, particularly, that could help us broaden increase the diversity of the audience that we're reaching in these announcements. We actually went through a process of, identifying some paper sites that we had, hard copy sites that we had been using that we think have become sort of, if not irrelevant, sort of obsolete, and replace them where we could with online sites that are more directly targeted at different groups. But yeah, we still need to work on that, and would really welcome any suggestions on places we could be going.
No, one of the things, and I don't know enough about the field of economics, but even though I was an economics major, if there are like minority trade groups, minority groups, like in real estate, we have a NYREC, which is, where a lot of the minority affordable developers, caucus. So in a lot of these various professionals groups, there are, minority caucuses, Black and brown women that, will have gatherings, and it may be interesting to try to figure out who they are, where they are, and go there.
Absolutely.
In addition to, obviously, I'm sure you guys are hitting universities and schools and all that stuff.
Yep. All right, well, we'll take a look at that one. And if there are any other ideas, we definitely would like to get them. Any other questions? All right, I'll turn it back, I guess, to Jennifer.
Yeah, so for those of you that aren't physically on the board, just stay where you are. I'm going to need a motion to go into the executive session.
Moved.
Thanks, Mark.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, just stay tuned, and board members are going to be pulled into a breakout session.
Thanks, guys.
So the board has identified a search firm. We are going to facilitate establishing a contract through the controller's office. I'm assuming we will be public about the firm once that contract is registered. And we will be posting information on the firm on the IBO website as well. And if anyone has any questions, they are free to ask.
Congratulations.
And if there is no public comment, you can adjourn the meeting.
Okay, do I need a motion to adjourn as well?
Moved.
Thank you. All right, gentlemen, ladies, everyone, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Talk soon.